Hello, this is Chase Palagi. I appreciate you tuning in. I figured I'd better get back in the saddle again, and I thought I'd kick it off with this terrific option from ZT known as the 0770. The 0770 was modeled after a very rare and sought-after 0777. This is simply a smaller and streamlined version of it that's much more attainable. I'll admit I stay away from ZT for the longest time because the majority of their offerings are larger, heavier, and just tend to be a little bit overbuilt. While I can certainly see the attraction to knives like that, they're simply overkill for the very light-duty EDC tasks that I'm normally faced with, and I tend to favor unobtrusive pocket knives. On that note, this knife falls solidly into that unobtrusive category, with a weight of only 3 ounces and a very thin footprint that I measured at about 0.4 inches, but all the while retaining a good deal of strength and structural integrity. The 0770 is a flipper that uses a spring assist in a very quick and stark delivery. The flipper tab itself is jimped in such a way that it provides enough traction to prevent slippage, but not enough to be abrasive. While we're talking about jimping, the spine is done in a similar fashion and is about perfect for my tastes. The blade shape is somewhat unique, but very functional. I suppose it would be considered a drop point, but it kind of reminds me of a sheep's foot. It kind of has this clip or swedge up top with the grind line intersecting with it, which makes it look super cool and kind of results in this tough and streamlined look. The blade finish on this one is very well done, and it's kind of this stone wash. I've always kind of liked that brushed or muddled steel look, but it will also hide any blemishes within it. As for the steel, they went with the S35VN, which is similar to S30V but yields better toughness. That being said, it is a powder metal steel that pretty much eliminates the chance of any uneven recipe and therefore produces a good consistent quality control. It has good stain resistance as well as abrasion resistance properties, with the ability to take a really nice fine edge. It's just a good solid choice, and I've been pretty happy with it throughout my experience with my other knives. The edge as it came was nothing to write home about. It was pretty much a run-of-the-mill working edge, but I've done nothing to it except strop it, as I was wanting to see how it would perform. It did alright throughout my testing, but it's definitely starting to dull now. But moving on to the handle portion of the knife, you can see this one is carbon fiber, hence the CF after its moniker. The carbon fiber pattern has a really cool design and adds a great deal to the overall aesthetics of the knife. However, there isn't a ton of traction on the handle itself, but I suppose that's what jimping's for, huh? The large, somewhat decorative pivot screw is certainly a nice touch as well. It kind of reminds me of a large but modern-looking mosaic pin. It's kind of the focal point as it draws your eye almost exactly in between the beautiful carbon fiber and the well-designed stonewash blade. I guess it just seems to bring balance and symmetry to the overall design, which I really appreciate. The locking system is a very sturdy liner lock. Blade play is almost non-existent, and the centering is right on, which is yet another indication of quality. I will admit that I normally stay away from spring-assisted knives because of the resistance they provide while trying to close them one-handed. I will say that this one's actually very easy to close one-handed, which is one of the main things that I look for in a good EDC knife. Moving on to the backspacer here, another indication of great fit and finish. Notice how the base of the backspacer is just like perfectly flush, that it kind of appears to be integral into the carbon fiber itself. Then there's kind of a run of evenly spaced scallops that, again, works really well with the overall design here. Then there is what looks to be the stainless spacer at the end. I noticed that there doesn't seem to be screws that line up to it. I'm thinking this is an attachment point that they integrated in lieu of a lanyard hole. As far as the pocket clip goes, I really like this one. For starters, it is reversible, but only in the tip-up orientation. It has the perfect amount of tension. It is a very deep carry, and the clip is just long enough to serve its function, but not long enough to be in the way. As a matter of fact, it's almost unnoticeable when in hand, which adds to the overall comfort and ergonomics of this knife. This is one of those knives that is just very comfortable to me. The handle length is perfect for my medium-sized hands, but I'm sure it'll also comfortably accommodate larger hands. Real quick, I'll go over some other variants of this knife. Now, this is obviously the CF, or carbon fiber version, as we established. It can also be had in a limited edition black aluminum handle with LMAX steel. Now, this version was the one I was actually looking at initially, as the price point of $130 was more attractive than the $170 price of the CF version with S35 VN steel too. Actually, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on one of these too. I also have seen it in an olive drab aluminum handle with a black coated blade and S35 VN steel for around $160. And then lastly, I have seen it in kind of this brushed aluminum handle with this really cool looking black stonewash blade and LMAX steel for, that was around about $160 as well. Now, honestly, I really like all these options quite a bit. In closing here, I just want to say that this is a spring-assisted knife that I would absolutely recommend to anyone looking for a higher-end EDC blade. It exhibits qualities tantamount to knives in an even higher-end category and flexes nicely into most styles and applications. Whether it be an everyday worker or something you pull out for certain occasions, it's just a great option that exhibits class but is rugged enough to use under more strenuous circumstances. Its thin and sleek form not only adds to its aesthetics, but also to the overall ergonomics. All in all, the 0770 is an absolute winner in my book. So anyway, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like, share, favorite, and subscribe. Anyway, until next time, this is Palagi, signing off.